Hey guys. Okay, so I wanted to do a quick little video. I was gonna do like 5 things that I did immediately that changed everything. Like, bam, drop of a dime. um, and then I was watching Mom on the Spectrum, and she did a video. How did I know I was autistic, or how did I know it was autism? Um, and I was listening to her, and I related to a lot of things, so I took some notes in my little taco chop notebook. Like she talks about, I always felt different, but I moved around a lot. Like, I went to 8 different schools in my life. My first school I went to for 4 years, and my last school I went to 4 years. So you do the math. Basically, every year I was always a new kid. I never felt, and my first and last school were private schools, and then I went to 1 or 2 here and there. But I mean, but in that middle age, elementary school kind of, I was in public school, so everybody made fun of me because I was the Catholic school where I came from, or nobody knew me. I was from a different town, or I just never fit in. I was loud. I never got picked for PE. I was always bullied. I just remember always watching all the kids playing on the playground. Like, I don't know. I felt like I always had to interject myself. I don't know. It was just weird. And then I was the golden child. I come from a very dysfunctional family, and I was like the one who didn't have any behavioral problems or any learning disabilities or this. I was sucked in math, but I was very, very smart in English. I didn't apply. I mean, I was very bad. I acted out. I just always tried to fit in. Another thing was, like, it took me 15 years to get my undergrad. My undergrad in interdisciplinary studies, okay? And it was because I couldn't pass remedial math. Like, I literally have 4 minors because I took every underclassman class I could, and, like, my remedial math was stopping me not only from graduating, but from taking any upperclassman thing. So, like, finally, like, as a senior, I was able to finish, and I graduated. And then I went into grad school, actually, for ABA, and I was in for 2 years, 2 semesters, and I had a 4.0, and I worked for the professor. He's like very high up in the, anyway, and then I got sick with neurological Lyme disease, and I had to resign from school, resign from my position. Then life happens, fell into addiction, toxic relationships. It was really bad. Then I got pregnant with my second child, got sober, and then I noticed some like developmental things happening pretty early on, like at 6 months. This is editing branding. I say editing brandy, but it's just me putting it into CapCut because, I do little Snapchat filter thingies. If I'm going to post it, this is how it's got to be done. If anybody finds this stuff helpful, and I'll start making better videos, I promise. Also to, like, the random things, like, okay, like chondromalacia. Like, I've had 2 knee surgeries. They've had to go in, and I have no cartilage. I have grade 4 chondromalacia. I have no cartilage, just like mincemeat. They said it was because basically I've been walking on a course that was not natural to my bone structure, so it just rubbed away my cartilage extra. And then, like, the tachycardia, the POTS, like that, all those other random, like, things that slide in. And then, but like at 9 months, like, he went from not even being able to hold his head up or sit up to like literally running. He never crawled, he never sat. He went from not being able to hold his head up to running, and he's never slowed down since. And I think it was like around when he was 2 years old, I brought him to get tested, and at this point, I mean, he couldn't, it was just observation basically because he was 2. There was, and he tested like little to mild, so there was really nothing they could do at that point, because at least that's what they said. So anyway, so we moved on, yada yada. Addiction, I fell into addiction again. I ended up losing custody of him. My oldest son actually got custody of him, and I got him back. And then I got into this relationship, got sober, and it was like fucking phenomenal, and it was awesome until it wasn't, and it was toxic on both of our ends. I thought it was codependency, yada yada, and then like he just like left, just up and disappeared, because like I knew he was like cheating on me, and like I'm like, dude, you're like, here's the messages, here's you at the hotel, like, dude, what, and but like and he had me thinking I was going crazy. Anyway, so he's like, look, he's like, I can't live with myself. He's like, you were a person who loved life. He's like, I don't understand it. He's like, I've never seen anybody that just loves love like you. He's like, you don't see the world like other people. And he's like, and I broke that, and I broke you. He's like, and I can't live with myself for that. And he's like, the only way I know how to fix you is to leave, and so you can find yourself. What the fuck does that mean? So what do? Okay, I gotta fix myself, right? So I checked into an inpatient program, tried to put myself in a mental hospital. They put me out 2 days after because that wasn't the place for me. My psychiatrist, like, you know, we worked close, like everything, and then like, so anyway, and I'm like, oh my God, I figured it out. Like, I'm like I'm like, remember, I'm like, you know how they said I had BPD? I'm like, well, this is actually like symptoms, you know, in the EDD. I'm like, well, these are all, you know, I was trying to like tell them, like, this is why. I'm like, okay, well, now that, like, you know, because they gave me the diagnoses like years and years ago, they just never did anything about it. So I looked up, and then I'm like, wait, and then, so I'm like, well, what if something, like, I was like, he was either on the dark triad or he was autistic. Like, which one? I didn't care which one, I just needed to figure it out, you know? So I'm like, and then so at 4 months later, and he's like, anyway, no, I think it was like, anyway, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go look at his fucking page. Sure enough, he had been in a relationship since longer than we had stopped hooking up, so, you know, but whatever. So I knew I was right, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm psychic. That was it, I'm psychic. So I called him, and I'm like, oh my God, guess what, I figured it out, I was psychic. And he's like, why are you doing this to me? Now, mind you, this is like 6 months later. I'm like, I didn't understand. Like, I'm like, because... And so I didn't understand his reaction, because I'm like, well, like, and now looking back, I can see it was like, maybe I'm not codependent and the crazy ex-girlfriend and all this stuff. I just believed what he told me. And I didn't think a person is capable. I mean, why would he sit there and tell me I'm crazy all this time when he's really involved with somebody? Like, anyway, so then it was like, didn't realize, like, perimenopause and learning how the onset of women and just learning all. So, of course, you know, like, by this point, I'm like, oh, wow. So I started taking the assessments, and I'm like, wow, you know. And that was when I realized, I was like, wow, yeah, he became my special interest. And I've always been somebody who's kind of not been able to detach until, like, I figured out the cause of it and, like, healed it or whatever. And by this point, I'm like, I had gotten all kind of certifications in tarot, astrology, Reiki 1-2 master, distance, like, all these things, like, in this matter of, like, I was literally isolated in my house for, like, the whole year, okay? Because that's how intense of it. So it was autistic burnout. Yeah, so I found Embrace Autism, and I found a bunch of content creators that were phenomenal for women, you know, especially us perimenopausal women, and later. I will make a document and tag some of the links below and give you the links to all the assessments you can do. And, I mean, all the things, like, it's common to be misdiagnosed with BPD, EDD, OC, you know, all those things. But then when you have ADHD and autism, it's called ADHD, and it's a whole different monster. So that's how I became. So yeah, and I'm so certain, like, there's no questions in my mind. Like, it's the only thing that makes me make sense and makes me feel like I'm in my skin and like I'm not an alien for the first time. And so yeah, I've contacted my psychiatrist, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna let her know. So I'm gonna request, you know, the proper assessment by somebody who is credentially accredited, who can do it. And then I thought it would be interesting because I haven't found anybody who's in the midst of the process. You hear all the horror stories, but so I figured this would be like the perfect opportunity to show you real time, in real life, how the system actually works. So when you look at your friends and be like, how could they have gone this long and not known? This is going to be how the system works. We're going to see it. So yeah, follow along.